If you're happy, if you got joy, if you enjoy it, there's going to be another side. But it's all those emotional things with the brain, frontal lobe, the morality, the wisdom, the ethics, the understanding of things. We're now understanding, and it's just so fascinating because when I read Dr. Lowe's work, it's there. The mechanisms, the specific mechanisms were not known during his time. Just didn't know them. But a good clinical psychiatrist can tell what's going on inside of the brain by talking to people and listening to people and observing people and having people telling them what's going on inside of them. And so you've got these emotional centers in the brain, which unfortunately children have far too much of. Yesterday, when I gave my talk at the National Institute of Mental Health, I mentioned the reality, my reality, that children are terrorists. I got two of them. They're terrorists.
Yes.
You know? And you need a homeland security system. Because they don't know. They're just these little bundles of anger, fear, righteous indignation, narcissism, just sexuality, eating appetites, food. And because they don't have frontal lobes fully developed, which aren't fully developed till 26, which is where the will is housed, probably. They're just these little impulses and fears and anger and happinesses and, and they don't know what they're doing. And so hopefully you protect them until they grow up and have judgment and have wisdom and have self-control. Have the capacity. I was telling my daughter who got mad at me for something. I said, look, in your mind is like a river. And all these thoughts are logs floating down the river. And you've got a choice. You can jump in the water and get hit in the head by the log. I'm mad at my dad. And, be mad at me for 2 hours and not speak to me and, grump me out. And then tomorrow we'll be father-daughter type, loving, And you've wasted 2 hours being mad over nothing. Although I know that you're mad because I hurt you, and behind anger is hurt. I understand that. So you can jump in the water and get hit by these logs. I said, or you can stand on the bank of the river and watch the logs float by.
Come on now.
What is it?
That's right.
Okay. I thought you had like a low piece of pearl. Because his metaphors and his language allows you to know who you are and how to control what's inside you. And so I was giving my daughter this metaphor, although she's going to read the book. Or you can stand on the bank and watch the logs go by and go, there's anger. I wonder where that's from. Oh, that's right, he did this and that. And okay, well, I have a choice here. I can act on it or I can let it go by. Abraham Lowe understood this. And it were the people, that sounds funny. Word was conjugation, the verb to be. It were patience, I guess it's right. Maybe it was, I don't know. Who taught him this knowledge. Be very clear about that. He self-observed, and people he taught, people who he treated taught him. And he watched and he observed and he saw. And I'm sure he was extremely proud of the progress and the understanding, because it gives a sense of mastery and a sense of power, which is extremely rewarding. And just, I don't know, it creates self-esteem. It creates a sense of positive self-regard. I am hoping, and I do my own little funny sort of praying, that this group will continue to do the work that it's doing, develop and protect and preserve the wisdom that as a team, Dr. Lowe and his patients were able to develop, and give that to the world. Because all the genius neuroscientists and geneticists don't know how to do that. They know how to sit in the ivory tower, discover this stuff, throw it over the wall in the hope that somebody walks by, finds it, and uses it. Which doesn't happen very often. But it's the folk who are dealing with the issues on the ground, in the community, in the schools, in the correctional facilities, in the foster care settings, who need to know what you all know. And so please, please, do something with this. I know I've been on the board and I've been encouraging the board and trying to help the board to do this. But it's critically important, because as you know, there is a lot of pain and suffering from people who believe what they think, and they get caught up and they hurt other people because they've been hurt and they're angry, and their hurt generates anger and they hurt, and you get this cascade of abusive relationships in life, which is completely unnecessary. If people were wise, and if they understood themselves, and if they knew how to spot what was going on inside of them, and understood that the fear and the anger was just that, fear and anger. So what? What are you going to do with it? What's causing it? Where is it from? Do you have frontal lobes that we're now discovering with our genius neuroscience? Oh my God, children aren't grown until they're 26. What rock have you been living under? You couldn't tell that from seeing them? They don't know what they're doing. But the geniuses, and we need them, you know, we need the good science. Maybe there'll be some sort of a breakthrough. But we need the work to get done. We need to get the power to change out there so that it's as ubiquitous as learning your ABCs. It's fascinating to me how much, and again, this is a lack of wisdom, how much emphasis we put on knowing things. But we don't, and we're starting to put emphasis on social and emotional knowledge.